You've got Barbara's number right there.
Yeah, I got it. All right, folks, we are here. I'm here with Juan Savin. This is going to be on Nino's Corner.tv. This will go on FluffTube, hopefully. Got a lot of it. It's an important update. It's a holiday update. I decided to do it because I felt that, people, I mean, I got to tell you, Juan, people, I get emails constantly every day about you. Hey, why haven't you talked to Juan? We want to know what's going on. What's the status? What's people are on the edge of their seats right now, Juan, holding on with just their fingernails, wanting to know what the hell's going on. And I think everybody does. I mean, I got people emailing me saying, hey, is it 2024? Is it this? Is it that? But before I do that, Juanito, I need to read off a commercial. So just be patient with me for a second.
All right.
America the Beautiful 5-ounce silver coin IRA. Now, something's not adding up, is it? Stocks at record highs, but the government just borrowed $5 trillion. Inflation is transitory, but just went up to 6.8%. How much did your wages go up? Gas, electricity, a precious metals IRA with Noble Gold will help you avoid the worst of this. And this month, Noble Gold is giving away a free America the Beautiful solid silver 5-ounce coin with any qualifying plan you start. Start by calling 877-646-5347 or visit the website noblegoldinvestments.com or hit the link below, folks. It will be there. Hit the link below. Just knock that out. All right, Juanito. Glad to have you on again, man.
Yeah.
So what I've been on my show.
Link I sent you on. Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's because you're breaking up just a little bit, so I'm hoping you get to your destination.
I shouldn't be. I'm just here at the top of the hills. Go ahead. In this part of the country, this 1,000 inches higher than the rest of the land around here.
Where you can't say where you're
at,
right?
I'm at the top of the mountain. Nino, I'm at the top of the mountain. I've conquered it.
It's beautiful. What are you in? What state are you in?
I'm up in the northern central U.S.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing a lot of Democrats that are deciding to step down. They're not going to be running for re-election. Juan, I guess my first question is: are these good things happening? Are good things happening behind the scenes?
Yes, this has been a very good week. And, one of the things that's really important, I sent you that article on the situation over there in Michigan with the defense attorneys filing the papers about how the FBI used a dozen informants, people that were paid FBI agents, and one specific one got 50 grand to set these guys up that were supposedly this evil militia going to kidnap the governor of Michigan. And so they created out of whole cloth, fabricated this entire story. It's what's wrong with the federal government right now. It isn't about going after real criminals or doing real work. They are fabricating things over and over and over. That was the situation out there at the Malheur Reservation. Over half the people that were occupying that bird refuge were on the federal payroll, working for FBI and other agencies. Same thing with the Bundy Ranch. We have this over and over again. You go back to Oklahoma City, McVeigh supposedly out, with the militia running around the world, and yet a Hollywood producer gets pictures of him that don't come out till several years later, till after McVeigh is dead, of him up on a military base during the time he's supposedly embedded with the militia in uniform, in fatigues, at a military base, training, working. So over and over again, we're not getting the true, real, whole story. We're getting some twisted thing where they're trying to make it look like we're something we're not.
Well, they continuously keep manufacturing and fabricating these events. All right, they're orchestrating these events, basically to cover their ass, and they're false flags. Right? That's just what they do, and that's what they're. And now it's all unraveling.
Is January 6th. They're pulling out all every possible way to fabricate this story that on January 6th, when almost 2 million Americans showed up in Washington, D.C. to be heard, to be seen, to join together in prayer for the country. I mean, the largest demonstration in Washington, D.C. history. You know, some of us remember back to the 60s and these incredibly huge anti-war demonstrations, civil rights demonstrations, and these phenomenal crowds. The one that showed up a year ago on January 6th was bigger than all of them ever. And they didn't show up to tear anything apart, burn anything down, steal anything. That was a prayerful group. They were there in prayer, and both on the 5th and the 6th. And now we find out that we have government paid rabble rousers that were in there trying to rope people into doing evil, and baiting them in, let's go occupy the Capitol, let's go occupy the Capitol. And then it turns out the guys on the Fed's payroll. All those people, we have to question every single one of them that went into the Capitol building on who they are. Chris Burgard, you had him on your show. He had the whole thing in there showing that this was an Orange Revolution operation, that the type that CIA people run. They killed off Robert David Steele earlier this year.
You think that was a hit?
Well, I don't think it was necessarily aimed at him specifically, but then again, he got sick in a way that we know there can be aerosolized things that are out there. It's a spike protein thing. And
right. And Scott McKay told me that he said a lot of people on that tour that were all sitting like in the front row of the tour were like, all of them got sick. It was like a really crazy thing, and he thought it was like aerosol or something. Does that make sense?
Yes, and we had some other
Careful
situations.
What you say, though.
Yeah, no, we had some other situations that were very aware of what was going on, and I have to say that I fall in the camp that this is not stuff that's naturally occurring.
So you think that I know that we know a mutual person that was trying to help Robert David Steele during the time he was in the hospital, and he said it was almost impossible. That they just, he went there with his own meds, and they still placed him on, and he told them, I just need oxygen, I just want to be given the meds, and then they placed him on a ventilator. Does that make sense to you? They placed him on a ventilator, and then he just went down south.
Well, it's a little more complicated than that. You're not going to go into any hospital and they let you take your own medication that I'm aware of, because there's liability issues, etc.
Right.
It's a non-starter. And I think most of the people that have any experience in that kind of environment would tell you that that's just not happening.
Okay.
The other side of the coin. So I don't think that's reasonable to expect a hospital that has liability potential to agree to that, even a private hospital. What did happen is he put on his chart from the moment he was entered, before he signed to be admitted, he had a bronchial problem that he'd had for a long time. So there was this underlying issue. He wasn't able to breathe, which is what you get with double pneumonia, and the lungs fill up with fluid. And so he went in to get oxygen and to give his meds time to pull it together. They initially agreed to let him be given one of the drugs that we all know the name of.
Yeah.
And quinine based. And then they decided that they weren't going to do that after they had him admitted. He also, in the chart when he came in, had him put do not intubate. He knew that almost everyone who's intubated dies, that it's like the death knell.
Yeah.
And there was not the complete understanding we have now on the specific mechanisms that are with the spike proteins. So after he's in there, then because they were arguing with him over whether or not he was going to take the different.
Be very, very careful in the words you use. Yes. I want this to stay on.
I will. The different meds that they wanted him to take, and he um, said no, 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 and he became agitated because he was very clear the way he was admitted what he wanted to do in the CDC protocols. If a patient becomes agitated, they calm him down. So they literally gave him drugs to put him to sleep, fentanyl.
Jesus.
And then after he was asleep, they got a family member to come in and say, oh, okay, let's go ahead and intubate him. So they put him to sleep, intubated him. He thought that he was going in under a certain understanding. The person that had him intubated was not the one that he gave medical authority to for his care. It was someone else.
Wow.
And so there's all sorts of issues there that, I think the family, should reconsider, but, that's their decision.
Right.
I think there's horrible things happen, but the reason I mentioned Robert is because he was one of the guys that helped with Orange Revolutions. He'd be here talking to us right now today. We had talked about it after the January 6th stuff last spring and summer, that was an operation using resources, personnel, in a manner that we use to, flip elections in other countries. And it was used right here in America, in our capital. That's what Chris Burgard's movie shows. Go look at the movie The Makings of a Perfect Day that I did with Jennifer Mack. Look at the crowd that's there. It's
I remember seeing that. They were all just praying, and everyone was very calm.
Yes.
Quiet. That's what I saw in the movie.
Well, and then also remember the diversity. Everybody had personalized what they brought, and they were very flyover America. Women, children, mothers, grandmothers, grandfathers. Compare that with the people that showed up in the last couple of patriot demonstrations in Washington, D.C. The moving vans with all those, young men, 20s and 30s men, all butch with their matching flags and shields. Okay,
yeah.
that wasn't America. That was they're getting ready for Americans to show up in Washington, D.C. The only thing that they can't do, there's not enough of them to cook the story. There's not enough of them to cover the whole country. We don't need to show up in Washington, D.C. We should need to show up in the rest of America. Surround Washington, D.C., all across America on January 6th, and let them know that, they can't fool the whole country. They might be able to own DC, that federal city, and fool people in that tight.
Would you say that DC is under foreign occupation?
I think that's actually a very accurate term. Remember, the whole event in DC was about slowing down the certification of the vote from November 3rd. And it wasn't about, a riot or an insurrection or like that. It was people standing up saying something's wrong and slow it down and go back and look again and verify before you certify. Verify that the vote's fair before you certify it. You had a couple of weeks before the inauguration. Technically, you could go a couple of months before the inauguration classically and slow it down and verify that what was going on here actually was a fair election. But instead, they had to hurry up and race and do it. And of course, that was the issue even with Pence. He could have said, nope, let's pause.
You'll go down as the greatest traitor in America history.
Well, all he was trying to do, all the people were trying to do that were there, almost 2 million people. The largest demonstration in U.S. history in the middle of the winter. In the middle of the winter, Nino. And they all showed up anyway. And they represented the rest of the country saying, what the fuck is going on here? Why do we have to race to certify when there's all these questions about the way the vote happened? That's one of those things where you slow down and you
So where are we right now with all of this, Juan? I mean, we're coming back into the anniversary of January 6th. We're moving forward. It looks to me like the whole Omicron fucking variant thing is falling apart. The whole narrative's falling apart. Now quarantine went from 10 days to 5 days. Everything's just kind of, it's like they're picking up the pieces. It seems to me like their plan, or whatever plan the globalists had, is falling apart.
Well, I don't think it is falling apart. It's got holes drilled in it. It certainly is not holding water, and that's what they're afraid of. So you have this huge investigation by Congress and Liz Cheney calling all these witnesses and trying to create the illusion of some depth and severity. What they want to do is create this huge witness list where just by the sheer numbers, it looks like there must be something here. There's got to be something here. The latest thing is this phone call the president made over to folks that were at the Willard Hotel, and just a few blocks over from a Trump Hotel, and on January 6th. Well, they're trying to make it out like something was said, some nefarious thing where the president was trying to bait him into, going in and taking over the Capitol. The president in the PDB knew, President's Daily Briefs knew that there was a plan to try and create a false story.
Right.
And that's why he didn't sign the Insurrection Act. I've talked about that before, back to December 18th, when the Director of National Intelligence was required to provide information of any foreign interference, involvement in trying to turn the election. They didn't provide it. Why didn't they provide it? Why wasn't Ratcliffe able to provide it when there was an executive order to that effect? Because somebody didn't want the fact that there was evidence of foreign involvement, foreign interference in the vote. Congress is trying to snooker you with the Magic Act. Oh, no. It's all Trump. Trump tried to do this. Trump tried to steal this.
Right. Gaslighting.
And the more that they do that, the more you gotta go, well, hold on a minute. What's going on here? Remember, nothing there was real on the Steele dossier about the Russian collusion. Nothing. They keep coming back to, you got all these celebrities, all these big name people saying, oh yeah, he was colluding with Russia. Well, where the fuck was it? And by the way, if you want to say there was collusion, what's the deal with Stephen Halper, who wrote the whole thing, whose aide was honeypotting, trying to get Papadopoulos to cheat on his wife, who Stephen Halper, the unindicted co-conspirator from Iran-Contra, he was the money, he was the banker, unindicted, survived all that, has a dual passport. One of them got a British passport, so they couldn't bring him back to the U.S., bring him in testimony if they really had to. And he's getting paid under the table over at Cambridge, not totally under the table, but he's getting paid by DOD to keep him viable. And what's he doing? He's helping concoct the whole scam about Russian collusion. But
Durham's going after these people, right? This is what's leading to these arrests, and that's why. And now they're going to be investigating the Hillary campaign. It's like it's all roads lead to Hillary, right?
Yeah, I think that's precisely correct. The Clintons, with Hillary being the current nexus.
So what are we waiting? Everyone's going to ask me, what are we waiting for? It's like, when is this shit? It's like a little arrest over here, a little arrest over there. It's almost like, okay, let's get to the meat and the bones, man. Let's get going. Like, what the fuck is going on, Juan?
Well, again, this is why I come back to like this thing in Michigan. You have multiple narratives where we're able to see that it's not true, that there's a federal.
But is this going to play out till 2024, or is this going to it seems to me like nothing's happening.
I tell you that it's going to come out. The latest variation of the Russian collusion scandal is this January 6th stuff. They're going to have these committees. They're going to scream bloody murder, because if you blow holes in that January 6th stuff, and with some of the revelations coming on the information from the vote scam that we know now.
Yeah, but they cover that up every time something comes out with the revelations of the vote
Nino,
scam.
it's not being covered up. It's coming out
Well,
right
how come
now.
nobody hears about? I don't hear about it anymore on the news.
You know, we have ad hoc hearings going on around the country because the politicians won't hold the hearings in the legislatures and have an honest hearing. The judges won't let the cases get heard in court. You keep thinking, oh, it's
Right,
been
so
in
what do
court.
we
it's been
do?
crooked.
What do we
They
do
say there's
then?
no standing. There's no
It's
standing.
like we're playing defense all the time. It's like defense. It's like, let's knock these motherfuckers out.
Nino, we're doing those hearings where some of these details are coming out. For example, look at Tina Peters up in Colorado. She allowed a person who's CISPA cybersecurity infrastructure to come in and mirror her computer and see what was going inside her Dominion vote system before they serviced it, and then allowed them to come back in, took another picture inside the machine after they serviced it. What'd they do? They eliminated, wiped out information on the federal vote going back to the 2020 election. That's what's in those computers. We know that that's in all of those computers that they've serviced. Those cases are moving forward. They are scared.
Right, but are we gonna? Is this gonna get handled by the year 2024, or is this gonna be handled before? That's my question. We don't have 2024. That's everybody's question in my audience, Juanito. It's like, okay, let's be patient. Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait.
No,
we're all sitting here watching our country get flushed down the toilet.
We're not being patient. We are pissed to the moon. That's why they're making such a big deal out of this January 6th stuff. You cannot come have an honest protest anywhere in America right now. Why? Because if you come to have an honest protest, they're going to have agent provocateurs there trying to make you look like something you're not. This is not America. You can't honestly protest falsehood. And then they got to send somebody in there, make it look like, with their buffalo hair, like they're, this is you. Right. It's a caricature. It's a cartoon. Bullshit. That's the whole point. So if they're going to try and control, it's a big country. They can control that little teeny sand speck in DC and do all the magic and illusions on that stage they want. They can't do it in every city out across the country. And people do see what's going on here. They're being scammed and they're getting pissed off. These ad hoc hearings are going to gain a lot of momentum after the first of the year.
But you've always said, you've always said to me, like, we don't want, it's a delicate balance. We don't want people picking up arms and going crazy on the streets.
No.
People are getting pushed to that point now. People are like, man, I'm ready to go any day now. I'm locked and loaded. It's fucking crazy. Like, they're looking at like a revolution. And I'm telling everyone, no, be calm. Be very, very calm. That's not what we want. We don't want civil unrest. We don't want civil war. I'm right. But it's like people are just waiting like hostages.
That's what these agent provocateurs are trying to do. They're trying to suss out the people that are easy marks, easy targets, hotheads, if you will, to do stuff, to present in such a way that we look like the idiots, show up in their fatigues with their, rifles and everything else and look like an idiot. We don't have to do that. America just has to say, no, stop. We're not going to put up with this bullshit. We will get a fair vote come hell or high water come 2022. We're going to get a fair vote.
Do you see Trump being reinstated before 2022, or do you think this goes until 2024? They're like, he's going to run again, and we're going to have to go through I'm just saying, how does he run again with a rigged system? That's all I'm saying. I'm like, okay, how is this going to happen? Fucking, do you guys?
Let me just say, it doesn't take
a rocket scientist to figure this shit out.
Let me just say this, and don't blow a gasket. But the reality is, Congress places a president into the executive office. They certify the electors that represent the states. So is Biden the lawful president of the United States? Yeah, Congress certified the vote and said, yeah, you're president. Does that mean that they were correct in doing that? No, the data doesn't support it. There's problems in the data. It's not legit. They can say it. No, it's fine. It's fine. A trillion times. It's not fine. There was all sorts of scams. We've never gotten our day in court. The American people are getting more and more pissed by the day as they understand the details coming out about how the vote was cooked.
And then now they're going to pass this Build Back Better. You know, this is going to pass. We know it's going to pass. This Biden, and then what else do they got to do after that? It's basically game over after they pass that one.
Yeah, that's true. They get
so
that going.
So then what is there to fight for? If that gets passed, we're fucked.
Well, again, it's a big country. You can, the Brits passed all sorts of laws and resolutions and disarm and everything else. I mean, that's what they were coming for at Concord, was all the gunpowder and guns that the people had there. That's this moment where it looks like we are toast, and the people said, no, we're not going to put up with that shit. It's a lot of states out here. Look, if they can't hold the narrative, just like the Whitmer thing there in Michigan, with this agent provocateurs supposedly going to kidnap the governor, and now we find out it's all false. If they can't hold this falsehood that January 6th was some kind of planned insurrection, that Trump was behind it, and he was using people like Meadows and people associated around Mike Lindell and Flynn and all these other people to do it. If they can't make that hold, then that's when the American people wake up and say, no, then so we're done.
Everything's really contingent on this January 6th. I mean, everything's going to pivot off this.
I think at this point in time, all the marbles are in that basket. They have to make it look like that, 2 million people there were there at the, request of Trump.
Yeah, but they got the media on their side. The media will always spin it the way they tell them to spin it.
They got this media on their side, Nino. Are you on that side?
Yeah, but they can fucking censor me and shut me down tomorrow.
Well, and then what's going to happen?
Everyone goes to ninoscorner.tv.
You know what's wild? You get out to the flyover country, out to just average people across the country. You have no idea the reach you have. I come across people all the time in the oddest places that Nino's the only show I listen to. I have, in fact, okay, hold on. I got to send you this. Okay, Nino, you got to calm down. This number here, call the number I just sent you. Call this number. Let's talk to Barbara. Barbara's a huge Nino follower. Get Barbara on the horn. I want you to hear this. Don't tell her we're on the air.
Well, does she know I'm calling?
No.
Oh shit. And this is Barbara. All right. All right, here we go.
All right.
And what am I going to be asking her?
Ask her if she knows.
You hear it when it go ringing or no?
Not yet.
Hello?
Hello, Barbara.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Barbara, this is Nino.
Hi, Nino.
How are you doing? Juanito gave me your number, and I'm on a call. I'm doing a Zoom with him right now, and he says, in case I blow a gasket, I need to be calling you. I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever. I mean, I know a lot of people watch my show in fear that I might have an aneurysm, but so he told me to give you a call, Barbara.
Okay, so what it is, Nino, I feel so sorry for you when you're trying to wake people up and they're not waking up.
And it's very frustrating.
I know that frustrates you.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid you're either that or you might, get so down you'll go back to drinking, and I don't want you to do that.
Ooh, that's a good point. I got to be honest with you. Yeah, it does. I do feel like going back to drinking every other day because it's so frustrating and it's hard to deal with. But I am glad for your concern. I appreciate your concern and the support, most definitely.
Okay, and I just want you to know that I prayed for you, Nino, and I have a burden, not a burden, but a concern. I'd hate to see you. You can't make people. They have to want to listen. They have to want to do a better job and not take the shot, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But all you can do is talk to them, and it just seems like it's more or less a burden for you.
it's frustrating. I will say it's frustrating. It's very frustrating because it's like trying to explain, trying to tell somebody, describe how the ocean's blue or the color of the rainbow is to a blind person. They just don't get it. It's just like, it's very frustrating.
Yeah. But you have a lot of people following you, and so just do the best you can, and that's all you can do. And we can't hit them over the head because, I mean, I have friends that went and took the shot.
I used to be able to hit people over the head.
That's true.
I'm used to that. So, well, Barbara, I appreciate you. Juan told me to give you a call.
Hey, Nino, Nino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ask her. Ask Barbara what she does to lighten the load for her. I mean, she takes care of her donkeys. Ask her about her donkeys.
You have donkeys?
Yeah, I have 2 miniature donkeys, and they are going to be 28 years old, and their teeth aren't that good. So I go out there every morning, and I have a little shredder that people, use for limbs on trees. So I run that hay through there and get it real fine so they can eat it. But they're smart, very smart.
Probably smarter than some of the people that listen to my show that don't listen. Well, Barbara.
Don't forget, there's trolls out there.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of them, and I have to deal with that daily. In fact, I get, emails, and it's bombarded with that crap. So it's tough.
The other thing, she deals with a lot of old people. She could help you. She says you
facility for 28 years, assisted living, and now I go into people's homes and take care of them.
Well, God bless you. I'm taking care of my parents right now. They're elderly.
She's 81 and she takes care of old people.
Wow.
Okay,
that's
amazing. They have to be like 99 for her to take care of them, because it's all the the old people that she takes care of. She's still young.
But yeah, you are. It's all relative, right?
Hey, you're young as you feel.
That's right. Well,
and the Lord gave me the ability to do it. He's not done with me yet. So.
Well, Barbara, it was great talking to you. I'm going to get back to the show. Thank you for the support, and God bless you.
God bless you, Nino.
All right, Barbara. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, that made me feel better, Juanito.
Well, you got to remember, I mean, you got so many people out there that are in that same mode. And by the way, she's not giving up. She's 81. She's still at it. She's not giving up. She hasn't rolled over. It's not the end of the world. We got this. We're going to freaking kick these people in the ass. They're not taking our country away from us over bullshit. They're not going to lie their way into power and hold it. They might have got there, but they're not staying there.
Yeah, the staying power is where, that's where I see them folding. And what about these Democrats that are stepping down, these House Democrats? And these, I'm seeing a lot of CEOs, big CEOs step down. And I mean, that's all part of it, right? The good guys are making moves behind the scenes, right?
Well, because some of the rats are getting off the ship. They see which way it's going, and they know that the illusion is breaking down. Once you see how a magician does the trick, once you know how the illusion is done, it loses its mystery. Now it's just a matter of timing to see the way that they did it. It's just like this myth of the dossier. Once you know how they did the trick with the various players involved and who was ultimately behind it and what their goal was, the whole magic is gone. They got to move on to the next thing. Now that you know that you have all of these false people that were on the federal payroll in there trying to create the illusion that people wanted to kidnap the governor of Michigan. Once you know how it was really done, and they're on the federal payroll, it was all just a crafty scheme to make it look like citizen patriots had nefarious plans in mind. It loses all of its punch. It's the same thing with January 6th. That's why, again, I go back to Chris Burgard's movie. You had the other gal, Millie, that did the thing. She used to be over at Alex Jones, went off on her own and did something related to January 6th also. Beautiful job. And, the illusion isn't going to hold. And there's revelations that are going to come. You can take it to the bank about the vote from last year that will.
You think that'll come in 2022?
It's on its way. That missile is
then
already left.
That'll make it a more fair election for the 2022 midterms. I'm not going to preach that Trump is coming back in 2022. Am I right in doing that? I'm just going to say, hey, things are happening behind the scenes, and it looks like.
Let me just say this, Nino. If you go to the Art of War manual, and you have to understand, this is something that's been under development for hundreds of years, but was upgraded during the first part of the President Trump administration. That's really critical. It's how do you conduct, what's the lawful mechanisms that you conduct wartime efforts? What are the legal justifications for certain military actions? Including if you're under cyber attack, a digital attack, if a belligerent has taken control under a falsehood of your government, what are the legal options that are available to you, and how do you go through it? That law of war manual is what's actually being used, whether people understand it or not. We are in a war by another means moment. And do you actually, what's more powerful, commander-in-chief or chief of police? The executive is the chief of police, the policing powers of the country aimed internally. The commander-in-chief is externally aimed when you're under attack from foreign forces. Even if they've moved inside the wall and have taken control of the levers of government internally. That's a belligerent force. What are your legal authorizations to recapture control of the helm of the ship of state? And that's the mode that we're in. If we get a fair vote later this year, which we will, when we get that, the new Congress seated in 2023 in January, then can go back and relook at all of these earlier issues. They can seat a president. In the interim, would they put Trump back in office? Trump is still president. He'll be a president forever. Once
right,
president, always a
acting,
president, unless he's impeached. He was never impeached.
Right, but he is what you say, the commander-in-chief.
He has never conceded the vote, and in the situation that we're in, that commander-in-chief position has not been filled by Biden. Now, in a continuity in government situation, there's certain fallback positions, and there's a lot of intricacies in the way that you conduct that kind of an operation, where you don't have to call on certain command features unless you have the crisis has risen to a certain level. And again, we're headed for that somewhere in here. We're going to have our Cuban Missile Crisis type moment. In fact, I showed you the article the other day. It was interesting that Zero Hedge used the exact terminology, almost word for word, that I've been using for 2.5 years. And that was came out of the Russian ambassador. So about a Cuban Missile Crisis type event. Go look up the headline. Go listen to stuff that I've done even with you over the last year or two. I've talked about this repeatedly. Those thresholds trigger certain legal events. within the law of war authorizations, legal responses that are allowed from a military standpoint if you're triggered in certain ways, and that's where we're at.
So before I let you go, Juanito, because I got another interview. January, April, I always tell people, man, this is gonna be a nuclear winter. Am I still right in saying that, or do you see things just falling apart and things getting easier for Americans, or are things gonna get harder?
And get way worse before it gets better. These next 3 months are going to be brutal. It's a 2-year jubilee. That the timing was when President Trump closed up Cheyenne Mountain, said we may already be at war and not realize it. So out of an abundance of caution, closed up Cheyenne Mountain with the early COVID stuff. And that still is locked up. You go down and you look at the Gitmo stuff. For all that they say they want to shut that down, I've said it right here in your show. If you're in charge, Pelosi, if you're in charge, Biden, just go ahead and close down a Gitmo. Get the cats, get the tractors, the tanks, whatever you got down there. Just drive over all the buildings, flatten down the fences, and walk away. Just prove you're in charge. If you can shut down Gitmo, I believe you're in charge. If you can't shut down Gitmo, after you've said a million times, we want to close it down, we want to close it down, we want to close it down, it's still being built up.
Right, and they just built a courthouse there, correct?
Yeah,
for military
courthouse.
tribunals.
And the evidence, they expanded the courthouse. They expanded the evidence area. See, for a lot of the evidence is classified, and so it has to be held in a very secure way beyond just a evidence locker type of situation. And so they expanded that evidence review area for attorneys to come in and look at the evidence, review it in a secure setting, defense attorneys, prosecutors, etc. So again, prove you're in charge. I dare you. Go close down Gitmo and show that you really are in charge of what's going on in our government, and that the continuity in government fallback position hasn't already been triggered. They can't do it. They're trying to create this false narrative around January 6th. They've made their end zone defense plays around January 6th. They're trying to stop the American people from making a goal related to January 6th.
So everything's going to swivel and pivot off January 6th.
Yeah, even out past January 6th. The hearings, the committees, that's their new latest play. And the firewall is these cases that they're concocting, including not just the ones that you know about right now, but the ones you haven't heard about that will be filed here over the next weeks and months related to what's going on inside those vote counting machines.
But before all of this gets handled, before all of this, till we start getting a foothold, then we're gonna have to deal with more Biden, a tough January through April, probably passing the Build Back Better bill. Those things are probably going to come to fruition, right?
Well, there's a lot of angles going on. Even once something like that would be passed, if it takes time for it to actually be implemented. It starts, goes a certain direction, but there's a lot of fight back for America. It's a big country. Washington, D.C. is this little speck of ground in this highly centralized government that's running the country. And the reality is, you push the American people far enough and hard enough, it's a big country. You can concoct schemes and illusions and bring your moving vans full of people in there to control the city and make news narratives, etc. But just like with Barbara and thousands of other Barbaras and Walters and Ninos out there across the country, you shut us off on the airwaves. We talk person to person. They do it in town. They do it in church. They do it at the store. You shut down the stores and the churches, they'll do it across the fence post. You're not going to beat America. We are much bigger than most people give us credit for. This is a huge country. with a handful of people in on the scam. It is not millions. It's a handful of people in on the scam. You know, I was dealing with something with some cyber stuff the other day, and they were wanting participation from our technical department over at 107 Daily on something. And right now they're dealing with 1 million fake accounts that they want to leverage to 10 million. These are accounts that have been in place for 3 to 5 years to push the conversations and the way stuff shows up in the internet on the search engines. So they have 1 million accounts right now that you don't know are fake to push public consciousness, to push news stories, to push ideas, and hand them around and make it look like it's real. It's an illusion. It's a magic act. And they're tiny. They're tiny. They want to get up to where they're working with the big boys that have 100 million accounts. And the intermediate position is 10 million fake accounts. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. How much of what you're seeing and hearing is real? It's an illusion. It's an illusion. America does not think the way Washington, D.C. portrays us as thinking. A lot of the stuff that's being pushed on us as a people is not the way Barbara or similar people in your audience think. They want the illusion that Barbara's good to go with a lot of this bullshit, that a lot of the rest of the country, all that 2 million people that showed up in DC in the dead of winter, all those people were good to go. No, that's why they were in DC.
Yeah.
And a handful, a fraction of 1,000 people, 300, 400, 500 people. Even in Congress, it wasn't the full 535 or whatever, it was half of that. We're good to go with this falsehood on the election. So a little teeny itsy bitsy speck of people who, by the way, may very well have gotten into their positions of authority through sleight of hand and fraud are now controlling the country. This is going to come off the rails. It's going to come unglued. The illusions are being exposed for what they are. The American people, as they wake up, there's a divine hand of God, whereas it's become more and more intense. People that were kind of asleep and, whatever, they're pushing the blue pills down the toilet.
Yeah.
They're stacked over the edge of the toilet bowl, but they're not going to take it anymore. And they've decided not to be neutral, but to take the red pill. It does make you want to blow a gasket. It does piss you off. It does get you all incensed.
It's very frustrating, Juanito. It's very frustrating. But I got to get on this other interview, Juanito.
All right, bro.
I want to say thank you for jumping on and giving us an update. So everything is contingent on this January 6th, right?
I'd say that's for the moment. They've made their battle lines, creating an illusion related to January 6th.
And once that falls apart, falls apart, then it's, many other things.
If you can't have an honest protest in DC, let's have an honest protest outside of DC. Let them do their illusions inside the city on that stage. We aren't going to show up. We don't even want DC. Okay, we'll do it the rest of the country and see what they think. They can do their show trials. They can present all their false evidence and get all huffy and puffy like this is proof. This is proof. It's not proof of anything. It's proof of a gas fart.
All right, Juanito.
Gaseous fart. All right, bro.
All right, I will keep in touch with you, Juan, and let's do another update in about a week.
Hey, sounds good, bro.
All right.
All right.